The classic era of Yu-Gi-Oh! Before the introduction of synchro monsters delivered some of the game's most iconic and powerful cards. But you won't find Harpie's Feather Duster, HERO Stratos, or Gren Maju da Eiza on this list. And that's because this video is running down the worst of the worst main deck effect monsters of classic Yu-Gi-Oh! Also, in an effort to keep things fresh and interesting, I'm going to skip over some monsters whose only effect is a summoning condition. If you really want to hear me talk about Gate Guardian again, you're in luck because I've got plenty of list for you with him on it. Don't expect a silly little joke to start this video, because the Unfriendly Amazon is too frosty for that. She is also the number 10 card on this list, and a level 4 Earth Warrior with 2000 attack and 1000 defense from the 2003 set Labyrinth of Nightmare. But 2000 attack on a low level monster is pretty decent, especially for 2003. So what's the Unfriendly Amazon even doing here? Well, she doesn't play well with others. In order to keep the Unfriendly Amazon on the field, you must tribute another monster you control during your standby phase. This is inconvenient and also largely outside of your control, since all your opponent must do to out your 2000 attack beatstick is get rid of all your other monsters and watch her destroy herself. She's a warrior type, so you can search her with reinforcement to the army and reclaim her from the grave with the warrior returning alive, but she has no archetypal support to back up any benefits from the typing. The Amazoness line of Earth attribute monsters do not count her amongst their number, since she's an Amazon and not an Amazoness. This is in line with her OCG name, which translates generically to ally killing female knight, and can also kind of explain why the Amazoness tribe don't hang out with her. But although this makes the relationship between the Unfriendly Amazon and the Amazoness monsters appear totally coincidental, her anime appearance is suggestive. Used by My Valentine during her duel against Yami Merrick in episode 90, the Unfriendly Amazon lived up to her ally-killing name by destroying Mai's own Duname's Dark Witch, then under Yami Merrick's control thanks to the effect of the Mask of Remnants. It's interesting that Mai uses both Amazoness cards and the Unfriendly Amazon, with the Unfriendly's appearance during her Merrick duel carrying interesting thematic implications. After learning some lessons about friendship and internal strength during Duelist Kingdom, by Battle City, Mai has been building herself up and putting distance between her old isolationist tendencies. But those old habits still pull at her, and Yami Merrick needles her insecurities with a shadow game to pick apart both players' memories. The Unfriendly Amazon's presence in Mai's deck suggests both that, even as she has deepened her connection with others, she still holds a fierce independence that is both strong, look at that 2000 attack, and unyielding, as indicated by the Unfriendly's inconvenient maintenance cost. Ultimately, the Unfriendly Amazon is still a low-level monster that can beat over most other low-level monsters, and you don't have to tribute to pull off an attack. But that's where the upsides of the Amazon end. If you want to attack again, or even just keep her around, you're going to have to give up something else. She's not a team player. But it's okay if the Amazoness tribe won't have her. This list of bad monsters from classic Yu-Gi-Oh! Will. On July 20th of 1969, Neil Armstrong and Buzz Aldrin became the first humans to walk on the moon. Luckily, neither of these astronauts played Yu-Gi-Oh! Otherwise, they would have known about the number 9 card on this list and decided to just stay home. Arcana Force 18, The Moon, is a level 7 light fairy with 2800 attack and defense from the 2008 set Light of Destruction. This Lovecraftian space alien is a dark horse candidate for this list, arriving in the final main set of the GX era just a few months before this list's arbitrary classic era endpoint of August 2008 structure deck Yu-Gi-Oh's 5Ds. But despite its later release date, Arcana Force 18 The Moon manages to underperform a ton of earlier cards and take a list spot on this video. Sure, it's got a decent stat line, but it also has the trademark Arcana Force coin flip effect. When the moon is summoned, the player flips a coin. On heads, the moon gains an effect where you summon a moon token with no attack or defense during your standby phase. On tails, the moon forces the controlling player to give control of one of their monsters to your opponent during the end phase. This is kind of a silly effect, and yeah, there are offbeat recipes to cook some unhinged fun moon plays. Griggle anyone? Amoeba? Vengeful Servant? A no material number 30 Acid Golem of Destruction? No one's saying that cards on this list can't be fun, just that they're not really good. Because Arcana Force 18 The Moon is a level 7, it requires 2 tributes to summon, which is really expensive for a card that's got a 50% chance of sending one of your monsters to your opponent during the end phase. That's a -3 in card advantage. There's another downside to the moon being so tribute intensive. If you don't have any other monsters to donate after paying its cost, you'll have to give your opponent the moon itself during your end phase. At least its heads effect isn't bad, and could potentially offset the cost of fielding the moon. Of course, that will only happen if you can keep the moon around through your opponent's turn, and to your next standby phase, which is never a sure bet. If you're going to go all in Arcana Force, you're probably building up to Arcana Force 21, the Moon, a much better 2-tribute Arcana Force monster. And as far as celestial bodies go, Arcana Force 19, the Sun, way outshines the Moon. This card is a cosmic flop, and yeah, it's unfair to really compare these cards given the time between their release, but whatever. At least the Moon is noteworthy enough to land at number 9 on this list. And cutting through the competition to claim the number 8 spot is Gearfried the Swordmaster. This level 7 light warrior has 2600 attack and 2200 defense, and released as an Ultra and Ultimate rare in the 2005 set Flaming Eternity. Like the Moon and the Unfriendly Amazon, Gearfried the Swordmaster has decent stats, and is instead held back by other aspects of its card. But Swordmaster's on-field effect is also pretty decent. Whenever another card is equipped to Gearfried the Swordmaster, you can target and destroy an opponent's monster. This is not constrained by a once per turn limitation, meaning if you can loop your equipped spells, or just collect enough of them, Gearfried the Swordmaster is capable of breaking your opponent's entire board. What earns Gearfried the Swordmaster number 8 on this list is his strict summoning conditions. Swordsmaster cannot be normal summoned or sat, and must be special summoned by the effect of Release Restraint. This normal spell lets you attribute 1 Gearfried the Iron Knight as a cost to special summon a copy of Gearfried the Swordmaster from your hand or deck. Gearfried the Iron Knight is a level 4 Earth Warrior with 1800 attack and 1600 defense. That automatically destroys any card that becomes equipped to it. Iron Knight Gearfried has a lot of different forms, including Geminis, Red Eyes, Fusions, and more. But all of these other Gearfried retrains his body armor as a defining characteristic. Gearfried the Swordmaster is what happens when Gearfried the Iron Knight finally releases his restraints. And even though he gets some extra attack, it's hard to see why you would choose to use this card. In the classic era, Gearfried the Iron Knight is actually pretty good. It combos really well with equipped spells like Blast with Chain and Smoke Grenade to the Thief, which both have effects that activate on destruction, meaning they are instantly triggered by attaching either card to Iron Knight. Blast with Chain lets you target and destroy a card on the field, and Smoke Grenade to the Thief lets you look at your opponent's hand and choose a discard. This is obviously hugely powerful, and Smoke Grenade to the Thief has been banned in the TCG since December of 2020, but it's not banned in GOAT format. Too bad for Gearfried the Swordmaster though. He has to put his armor back on if he wants to see play. You can use Destiny Hero Diamond Dude to mill Release Restraint off the top of your deck, allowing you to activate the spell from your grave during your next turn, skipping over the Iron Knight tribute cost to summon Swordsmaster directly. But like, what are we doing here? In the Duel Monsters anime, Gearfried the Swordmaster's single appearance was during Joey Wheeler's second duel against Rex Raptor. So if you watch the anime but don't remember this guy, that's probably why. And liquidly creeping into number 7 is Neo-Spacian Glow Moss. This level 3 light plant from the 2007 set Strike of Neos has 300 attack and 900 defense, and in effect to make you wonder where it was ever going except this list. The Neo-Spacians occupy a wide range of usefulness. Some are kind of forgettable, like Neo-Spacian Flare Scarab, and some are actually really good, like Neo-Spacian Grand Mole and Neo-Spacian Aqua Dolphin. Neo-Spacian Glow Moss lives on the less useful end of that range, even if it is an admittedly cool card. If Glow Moss engages in battle, your opponent gets to draw a card, and then reveal it. Based on the category of the card revealed, Glow Moss will then enact a matching effect. If your opponent draws a monster, Glow Moss ends the battle phase. If it's a spell, you have the option to change Glow Moss's attack to a direct attack instead. If your opponent draws a spell while they attack Glow Moss, there is no effect. If your opponent draws a trap, Glow Moss is changed to defense position. None of these effects are particularly noteworthy, although ending the battle phase can be nice when you're actually ending your opponent's. But hey, if you're desperate enough to swing with your Neo-Spacian Glow Moss, you're probably also desperate enough to accept the results of your opponent's draw game, even if it means an end to your own battle phase. But while Glow Moss typically has minimal impact on the field, giving your opponent a free draw can have game-ending implications. For you anyways. It's not hard to see why Neo-Spacian Glow Moss is on this list, but there are a few other cards attached to Glow Moss I should probably mention. We have Chrysalis Penny for when you really need to summon your Glow Moss from hand or deck, for some reason, and we also have Neo-Spacian Twinkle Moss, a level 4 light plant fusion with 500 attack and 1000 defense that can only be special summoned with Nex. Its stats aren't much of an improvement on Glow Moss, but during the battle phase, you draw instead of your opponent, which is a huge upgrade, even if Twinkle Moss still isn't strong enough to justify running Glow Moss and Nex. We've also got 2 Neos Contact fusions using Neo-Spacian Glow Moss, Elemental Hero Glow Neos and Elemental Hero Chaos Neos. Like Twinkle Moss, both of these cards are marked improvements over Glow Moss, that unfortunately still require you to play Neo-Spacian Glow Moss in most situations. And blocking off the second half of this list is Cyber Barrier Dragon at number 6. This level 6 light machine has 800 attack and 2800 defense, which might be impressive if it wasn't also a pain to use. Cyber Barrier Dragon joined the TCG in 2006 Shadow of Infinity set, and as one of Cyber Dragon's worst evolutions, has been pretty forgettable ever since. Modern Cyber Dragon strategies combine many powerful consistency cards with a diverse array of flexible dragon machines, capable of popping fields while cranking out attack after attack after attack. They even have an in-archetype Omni-Negate boss in Cyber Dragon Affinity. Totally outshined by almost every other Cyber Dragon card is Cyber Barrier Dragon. This questionable Cyber Dragon evolution cannot be normal summoned or set, and must instead be special summoned by the effect of Attack Reflector unit. On field, a Cyber Barrier Dragon isn't awful. 2000 defense is fine, and when Barrier Dragon is in attack mode, you can negate your opponent's next attack once per turn. This effect would be better if you could choose which attack Cyber Barrier Dragon negates, but that still won't fix the fact that you have to leave Cyber Barrier Dragon and its 800 attack vulnerable in attack position to even gain access to that negate. Ultimately, it's not a good card. And if it's your last line of defense, you're better off just scooping in hopes that you'll at least save some dignity. One of the original Cyber Dragon's biggest strengths is that the card is fast. While you control no monsters, you can special summon it as a no-cost level 5 body with 2100 attack. Cyber Barrier Dragon is horrendously slow, since you first need Cyber Dragon and then Attack Reflector unit, which contribute a Cyber Dragon to summon a Cyber Barrier Dragon from hand or deck. Attack Reflector unit also makes everything slower and worse because it's a trap, and not even a spell. At the time of script writing, Cyber Barrier Dragon is the only level 6 Cyber Dragon monster, making it the default archetypal candidate for overlaying into the rank 6 Cyber Dragon Infinity. But Cyber Dragon Nova can rank up into Infinity anyway, so none of that really matters. But while there's not much to say about Cyber Barrier Dragon's competitive viability, we do have some quick trivia. Barrier Dragon is the defensive counterpart to Cyber Laser Dragon, with both of these Cyber Dragon upgrades taking inspiration from power-ups found in Konami's Contra franchise, where a barrier upgrade lets you block one hit. This video's next card first deployed as part of the 2003 set Legacy of Darkness, and has only ever seen one reprint in 2005's Dark Beginning 2. Gradius' Option is a level 1 light machine with question mark attack and defense, and though it's barely its own card, it has no trouble claiming spot number 5 on this list. In a game with lots of powerful cards with question mark stat lines, including the gods themselves, these variable cards have humble beginnings. That's right, Gradius' Option was the first question mark card to print, and thankfully progress has been exclusively uphill from there. Like a lot of this list, Gradius' Option cannot be normal summoned or set, and can only be special summoned from the hand. And you can do this by selecting a face-up Gradius on your side of the field. On the field, Gradius' Option has no active effects, but its stats become equal to those of the selected Gradius at all times. And if that Gradius is removed from the field for any reason, Gradius' Option blows itself up. Yay! As an attacker, Gradius' Option isn't totally useless. While base Gradius is a level 4 light machine normal monster with 1200 attack, Gradius' Option will copy any stat gains, meaning if you equip the chosen Gradius with Malevolent Nuzzler, its Option will gain the 700 attack points too. This can even get a little nutty with Ryoku, since you can choose Gradius' Option as target 1 without actually having Option's attack. If Gradius is then chosen as the recipient of Ryoku's attack boost, then both Gradius and Gradius' Option will climb in stats. Of course, there are better options to abuse if you really want to stat climb using janky option mechanics. Victory Viper XXO3, for example, is capable of summoning its own stat-mimicking option tokens, rather than running a main deck option as a separate card you have to dig out. Like Cyber Barrier Dragon from the last entry, Gradius' Option is a Konami self-reference to power-ups from another one of its franchises. Gradius is a side-scrolling ship shooter featuring a number of player-controlled spaceships that have also been imported to Yu-Gi-Oh!, including Lord British Space Fighter, Falcon B, Jade Knight, Victory Viper XXO3, and of course Gradius himself. And blooming into the spot at number 4 is a monster from the 2008 Phantom Darkness set, Regenerating Rose. This level 7 dark plant has 0 attack, 1500 defense, and very few situations where you'd actually benefit from using it. Generally, floating effects in Yu-Gi-Oh! Are desirable. Having an effect that activates in response to losing a card mitigates the loss of that card, and can sometimes even help you pull ahead. Regenerating Rose has a floating effect, but it's not a very good one. After being destroyed and sent to the graveyard, Regenerating Rose summons 2 Regenerating Rose tokens. Both are level 3 Dark Plant tokens with 1200 attack and defense and no effects. Observant viewers will note that the stat total of a single Regenerating Rose token far exceeds that of the actual Regenerating Rose. Even more observant viewers will note that I've fooled you all. Regenerating Rose's floating effect doesn't strictly trigger on destruction, since it has to be destroyed specifically by battle and sent to the graveyard. If Regenerating Rose were low level, this would be a fine card. But it's not. Instead, Rose is level 7 that requires 2 tributes. And there's not really much more to say about Regenerating Rose. It was the first level 7 and up plant monster, and it's number 4 on this list. Obliterating the competition for number 3 spot is Exodia Necross, a level 4 dark spellcaster with 1800 attack and 0 defense that managed to snag the cover feature for the 2003 set Dark Crisis set while doing almost nothing else. Like Gearfried the Swordmaster, Cyber Barrier Dragon, and Gradius Option, Exodia Necross cannot be normal summoned or set. Unlike those other cards, Exodia Necross's summoning conditions are wildly difficult to fulfill. While the steps you have to take to bring out the previous special summon only cards on this list aren't exactly convenient, they're not impossible. And technically, Exodia Necross isn't impossible to summon either, but it is really hard. And the payoff isn't worth the hoops you have to jump through to actually get Necross on the field. Exodia Necross can only be special summoned from your hand by the effective contract with Exodia, a normal spell you can only activate if you have all 5 pieces of the Forbidden One in your graveyard. So yeah, in order to summon Exodia Necross, you need Necross himself and contract with Exodia plus 5 differently named monsters in grave that are all limit 1, and 4 of them are normal monsters. This is pretty much as inconvenient as it gets. In traditional formats, you can at least use Painful Choice to quickly put those 4 pieces in the grave, but good luck doing that because in most settings, Painful Choice is super banned, including Advance and Go. On the field, Exodia Necross's 1800 attack is pretty disappointing. Sure, it's the combined attack stat of all the Exodia limbs plus the head, but that neat little trivia bit only holds the card back. Exodia Necross can't be destroyed by battle or spell/trap effects, which is pretty cool, but leaves glaring vulnerabilities, since Necross is easily cleared by monster effect or any non-destruction removal. In addition to these more traditional methods, Exodia Necross will also instantly self-destruct if any Exodia piece is removed from your graveyard, expanding the already significant Necross counter card pool to include most graveyard disruption. I'm talking cards like Soul Release, Autonomous Action Unit, DD Crow, Any Bestial, Ancient Flameveil Deity, Disappear, Chaos Betrayer, Delve the Dark Monarch, K9 EX Werewolf, and just way more cards than I'd ever mention here. While Exodia Necross is around, it does gain 500 attack during each standby phase, so hey, after 13 standby phases you can hit your opponent with a mean Exodia Necross OTK. And bubbling up into number 2 is Elemental Hero Neo Bubbleman, a level 4 water warrior with 800 attack and 1200 defense. It first released way back alongside Cyber Barrier Dragon in 2006 Shadow of Infinity set, and if this is the first you've ever heard of Elemental Hero Neo Bubbleman, it wouldn't be surprising because this card is bad. Neo Bubbleman continues this list's trend of disqualification from normal summon or setting, and can only be special summoned by meeting a fairly unhinged set of restrictions. While you have Elemental Hero Bubbleman on the field and the normal spell Metamorphosis in hand, you can send both to your grave to special summon Elemental Hero Neo Bubbleman from your hand. On field, Neo Bubbleman is treated as the original Bubbleman, and although they may have the same stats, Neo Bubbleman can destroy a monster that battles it at the end of the damage step. Okay, so extremely optimistic use case time. You could equip Neo Bubbleman with Power of the Guardians, or some other card to make him unable to be destroyed by battle, and therefore better able to consistently access its destruction removal effect. You could use A Wild Monster Appears to skip over its summon conditions and special summon the card, retaining access to its destruction effect, even though you'll deal no damage. If you already have Neo Bubbleman on the field, you could attack it into a defending monster to pop it at the cost of some life points. This extreme optimism is totally unwarranted, however, because summoning Elemental Hero Neo Bubbleman is pretty difficult. On paper, doing so certainly seems no harder than fulfilling the summoning conditions of Exodia Necross, but matters are complicated by the required spell Metamorphosis. This powerful card lets you tribute any monster to special summon a fusion monster with the same level, and it has been banned since September of 2007. Not only must you use a long banned card to correctly summon Elemental Hero Neo Bubbleman, but you also have to choose to not activate that card. Sure, there aren't really a ton of great level 4 Metamorphosis targets, but you've still got some options. Elder Entity Norden has also been banned forever, but why not Modraga the Swamp? Invoked Caliga, or even Magic Key Beast and a Sabolis. Sure, those cards were all released later down the line from Neo Bubbleman, but hey, we're getting hypothetical. Even in 2006, you could still get Darkfire Dragon for some extra attack points. Thankfully, modern Elemental Hero Neo Bubbleman players, if there are any, please comment in chat if this is you, have a better way to call out what might be the worst Elemental Hero using a recent one that's actually good. Elemental Hero Flame Wingman Infernal Rage. Elemental Hero Neo Bubbleman is so forgettable that Konami forgot to give it a reprint with an adjusted name to make it a capital hero, rather than the old school lowercase hero. This is only the case for one other card, and that card is the infinitely forbidden Elemental Hero Air Neos. But all hope is not lost for this wayward hero. 2025 Supreme Darkness set introduced evil hero Toxic Bubble, a fiend retrain of Neo Bubbleman. Maybe someday we'll witness the heroic return of Elemental Hero Neo Bubbleman. Maybe that day has already happened. If so, leave another comment to make sure I know. And cutting in number 1, we have Sasuke Samurai number 3. This level 3 light warrior with 1000 attack and defense released with the 2004 set Invasion of Chaos. The game of Yu-Gi-Oh is kind of absurd sometimes. And with over 13,000 cards, there are no shortage of unhinged ways to turn the effects of bad cards around and make them plausibly good. This is the case with Sasuke Samurai number 3, a card that forces your opponent to draw until they have 7 cards in hand after inflicting battle damage. On an extremely basic level, Yu-Gi-Oh is played using cards that let you advance towards winning the game. Giving your opponent just 1 extra card runs counter to this goal. Forget 7. The continuous trap Greed causes any player draws off of a card effect to take 500 burn damage. So let's take a look at that. A direct attack from Sasuke Samurai number 3 on your opponent with no cards in hand will result in 1000 battle damage and 3500 burn damage. And there you have it, Sasuke Samurai number 3 OTK with only 2 copies of Greed for a total of 8000 damage. A more realistic way of using Sasuke Samurai number 3 would probably be with creature swap to give it to your opponent, and then crash one of your own monsters into it to take battle damage and draw a bunch of cards. But no matter how many silly ways you might use Sasuke Samurai number 3's effect, they all hinge on the effect being generally bad. And that's why it takes number 1 on this list. Anyway, put Sasuke Samurai number 3 in your mill deck or your normal deck if you want to prove you're the real king of games. Alright, and that's the list. But there are more bad monsters out there. So if I missed your favorite, or if you have more ideas for future videos just like this one, I'd love to read them down in the comments.